Hello there, people of the internet. I have bugs absolutely flying all around me, and it's kind of miserable. I won't lie. It's hot, I'm thirsty, I'm tired, but boy, am I having a good time. I got my trapdoor Springfield out here, and I got a couple more rounds of black powder 4570. Whenever I show people this black powder 4570, they tend to freak out. They're like, oh my god, that is a gigantic bullet. It must do an overwhelming amount of damage. And they're not wrong. This is a 425 grain bullet, and boy does it do a lot of damage. It's going to travel at about 1700 feet per second maybe. Depends on the powder, depends on the load, depends on how compressed everything is. There's a lot of factors, but we're going to go ahead and just say 1700 feet per second with that particular bullet weight. That's a lot of lead going downrange pretty gosh darn rapidly. But whenever people look at a modern smokeless cartridge, like for example this right here, this is an 8mm Mauser. This is a 170 grain soft point, so it's like a third of the bullet weight of this right here. They look at this and they just almost panic because of the size of the bullet and the undoubted power behind it. Well, this is a black powder cartridge. There are other 4570s out there that are smokeless powder, but we're going to particularly talk about the black powder 4570 because we're going to talk about black powder cartridges in general. Black powder is not very efficient at launching things forward. I'm going to use terminology here that everybody can understand, even the people that aren't really gun people. Like if I start talking about how black powder explodes, smokeless powder is a propellant, different kinds of burn rates, pressure charts, and different pressure curves and whatnot. If I start going into all that, we're going to lose some people. So I'm going to keep things nice and simple here. Black powder is not very good at sending things downrange. It'll do it relatively effectively, but not nearly as effectively as modern smokeless powder. Black powder is what mankind used for, I don't know, the 1300s all the way up until big adoption of smokeless powder in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Depends on the country, depends on the area. I imagine that plenty of people here in the United States were using black powder for quite a while after smokeless powder came to be. But black powder, since it can't launch things very quickly, it just has an upper limit whenever it comes to velocity. The way that you get more energy onto your target is by making your bullets bigger, and that's why black powder bullets tend to be really, really large in comparison to smokeless powder bullets. So the black powder rounds going downrange, they tend to max out around 1900, maybe 2000 feet per second, but that's really, really booking it with black powder. Versus something like smokeless powder, I know 8mm Mauser, if you have a 150 grain bullet, it'll send it at about 3000 feet per second, maybe even 3100 feet per second, depending on how hot that particular load is. Bottom line, the smokeless powder is sending that lead at a dramatically faster rate. So with all that being said, since that smaller bullet is moving much faster, exactly how much more energy does it have to transfer on the target? Well, as you increase your mass of your bullet, I think that the double, if you double the mass of a bullet, you double the energy that bullet is going to have on target. But if you double the velocity of a bullet, you're going to quadruple the energy that has on target. So although this smokeless powder round is a third of the weight of this black powder round, the smokeless powder round, since it's moving much faster, is going to have much more power on target. I did a ballistics gel test with this 4570, same exact load, 425 grain bullet behind 70 grain, or in front of 70 grains of black powder. I sent this through ballistic gel, and then I hit that same ballistic gel with 8mm Mauser. I'll go ahead and throw that clip in right here. So as you see, the 8mm Mauser round definitely did significantly more damage to that gel block than the 4570 did, because it had significantly more energy to put on target. Not only that, but I was using a soft point and it expanded and just dumped a lot of its energy onto its target. I also hit a water jug with my 45-70 round, same exact round, and it definitely did a bunch of damage to the water jug. It would have been enough to put down something that was living. And I'll go ahead and throw that clip in right here. Okay, now what we're going to do, I have this water jug right here and my 170 grain 8mm Mauser soft point. I'm going to hit that water jug with this right here, and we're going to compare the power of this this 170 grain soft point 8mm Mauser to our 45-70. I've only got this one water jug. That's why I spliced in the footage of me hitting the 45-70 with that other water jug, because I don't have another water jug to hit. I will, however, shoot the 45-70 in this episode just because it's a fun gun to shoot and I have some ammo in my pocket. So 45-70, this right here is 425 grains of powder, and it is in front of 70 grains of black powder. It is FFG, homemade stuff, corned black powder, and I am using coconut fiber as my charcoal. This right here is just corned black powder, so it's not going to be quite as powerful as... Do I have ants on this thing? I hope not. It's not going to be quite as powerful as the pressed powder that you get from the store, but we should still get pretty gosh darn equivalent velocities with what we're going to be seeing here. All right, let me put these back on. Let me go ahead and send around at our steel target out there that is actually on the car. Last time I shot this thing, I knocked it over. Let me see if I can knock it over again. Nope, I hit it, but she's still standing. Alright, so that's a fair amount of power. That's a relatively large round. Do I have any more of these? That was fun. Yeah, I got one more. I may as well send it. That's a relatively good amount of power coming out of this thing. That's a big bullet. And it's moving at some pretty gosh darn good velocities here. Let's send another. I'm not sure if I hit that one or not. Didn't sound like it, but the target also looked like it moved. Maybe I hit it on the bottom or something. But bottom line, that's a big hunk of lead moving pretty gosh darn fast. Now, let's hit that water jug with our soft point 8mm 170 grain. This thing will probably be going I don't know, 2,800 feet per second. If I had to make a bet, it's going to completely demolish this water jug right here. I'm gonna step about right here or so just so I'm lined up with the car. All right, firing. Wow. Yeah, that's definitely a huge difference in energy transfer if we're comparing this right here to that 45-70 water jug. Now, just because I have them in my pocket, if we were to have like modern ammunition loaded with black powder, we still would not get those velocities just because it's a modern style of ammo. I got some black powder 308. I just so happen to have them in my pocket. I may as well send 1 or 2 rounds here. But this black powder 308, this is one of those examples of the limitations of black powder. Normally 308 would move about 2,800 feet per second with a 150 grain bullet. Well, this 150 grain bullet with black powder behind it is probably going to move more like 1,600 feet per second, maybe. It's a 150 grain bullet with 57 grains of powder behind it, but again, it's corned black powder, so it's a little bit weaker. So it's probably more like the equivalency of 50 grains. So it's still going to be moving fast enough to damage whatever it is that you're shooting at, but it's not near what smokeless powder power is. As a matter of fact, yes, I did smoke today. Thanks for asking. I actually shot a water jug with one of these. I'll go ahead and splice that footage in right here. All right, now that footage is spliced in, I have 2 more rounds right here. All right, let's go ahead and try that one more time. There we go. It worked that time. Now we'll send some lead here. It's a nice light recoiling round, don't get me wrong. It's just not going very fast and it's not very powerful. Oh, hold on. There we go, I have one more. Let's send this one last one downrange. Why not? Okay, cool. Yeah, I think the steel is like sitting on something firm now because it's not making any noise. And I'm definitely hitting it. I can see the rounds impacting target. All right, folks. I think that's it for me for this particular video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I will see y'all on the next episode. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.